When writing a novel, a writer should create living people. People, not characters. A character is a caricature. Boone winning the Oscar. BTS's domination of the market. The fact that I've been obsessed with Studio Ghibli and the live-action Mulan Rise of a Warrior forever. All of this has since led to me thinking about the current boost in interest in Far East media in film, television and music. However, today what I want to focus on are Korean shows, particularly K-dramas. Even more so now with Netflix getting involved with multiple Netflix K-drama originals. And seeing as my heart has recently been obliterated by the fantastic Crash Landing on You, today I'll be diving into K-dramas and the power of character. Crash Landing on You, our focus today, tells the story of two star-crossed lovers, Yoon Soo-ri, a South Korean heiress, and Ri Jung-hyuk, a member of the North Korean elite army. In an accident, Yoon Soo-ri finds herself lost across the border in North Korea. It is there that she meets Ri Jung-hyuk, who gives her shelter and develops plans to secretly help her return to South Korea. Over time, they fall in love, despite the divide and dispute between their respective countries. Now that story is great and all, a newish take on the star-crossed lover's tale, but that's not what got me about this series. No, what got me was the characters and just how different, new and compelling they were. We have a huge array of characters, including our two mains, Soo-ri and Jung-hyuk. We have both of their ex-romantic partners, Soo-ri's business-focused family, and Jung-hyuk's army troop. And those are just the ones I'll be focusing on. There are so many other characters who, even with small amounts of screen time, you can invest yourself in their stories because of how well they are written. Not as stories, but as people. So first, let's begin with this idea of them as people, and particularly character as story. What drew me most to Crash Landing, other than the gorgeous cast, was how the story, while significant and important for the plot, obviously, it was not what was driving the characters. It was the characters that drove the story, and were connected to it. Take the ending reflective scenes we receive, which just as a whole is a brilliant writing and visual technique, which usually unveils something about our main characters, often opening our eyes to later reactions and actions of theirs, or revealing a plan that resolved something in the future. The best example I often consider and think of is the scene we have of Jung-hyuk stockpiling Soo-ri's home with food, nourishment, recipe lists, handwritten notes reminding her to look after herself, and even such things as lowering himself to her height to make sure she can reach everything. It is a small but significant scene to the context of the previous section. This is Jung-hyuk knowing what is to happen, that while Soo-ri puts on a brave face and has been looking after herself while he and his men are around, once she is alone again, she won't. So he does all of this with the aim of keeping her happy and healthy, because he won't be there to make sure she does. This shows his character, a kind, sensitive, thoughtful and caring man, and this character action is what then drives Soo-ri's story of self-care. In another case, we see how the present character story has developed from the past with Soo-ri. Throughout the series we learn of Soo-ri's struggle with mental health, particularly the want to commit suicide. However, we learn this after a scenario showing the opposite. With Soo-ri stuck in North Korea, upset, unhappy and stressed, it is here that Jung-hyuk goes above and beyond to help her in any way he can. This is the first time someone has shown her true kindness in a long time, without the intention of gaining something from her afterward, For this moment to occur and for us to then see a memory of her asking to die and believing there is no happiness for her. We can compare the two scenes and see how, even at the beginning of her personal journey in this story, the smallest of connections can make a difference in changing character and driving their story. A common flaw in stories is that writers make heroes grow or change, but do so abruptly, in a single leap because of a single incident. This does happen once in a while, but more commonly, people change by degrees, growing in gradual stages. Now, while our two main lead stories complementing one another is important, as each decision, action, reaction and development leads to the drive of their stories, such as learning that they had in fact met many times in the past, each side character, as discussed, also has importance with the storyline and how it is driven forward. In the case of Yundong, the youngest member of the army unit and the most innocent of the crew, his story is one cased in reality more often than not, and in turn his character is one of the strongest. While he is young, we do not recognise his youth due to the North Korean army element. He is a trained soldier who, though missing his family, does his duty. He is loyal to his own men, even taking a beating when he refuses to turn on Jung-hyuk. Each of these moments is what drives the story to its core, the loss of innocence, which is reflected when we see Yundong in South Korea. Here in South Korea, he can be his age. He wears a school uniform, he plays video games, he buys funny hats, enjoys food, and as a whole lives life as he should, like a young man, and not as his reality is. A young soldier who will be stuck in his service and not return home for 10 years. The conflicting realities of Yundong's situation, where he is and where he should be, are what his character brings to the story. Reality. As David Corbett says in his book, The Art of Character, escape the restrictions of story by giving the characters the freedom to surprise, to step outside the story. By understanding how and why the characters themselves embody the story's themes and wish the plot's events to take place, without confining them to merely that. What people often cite as to why they could never get into K-dramas or foreign dramas as a whole is due to the fact that the drama is intense. Yeah, like Hollyoaks isn't ridiculous itself, but somehow a Korean drama is too much. However, this is for me just another form of characterization that is compelling. This is where the next section comes in. Subtlety and exaggeration. Now, I will admit, this is not something I ever thought was important or even significant in writing. Yet with character, having a balance of these is incredibly useful. When it comes to exaggeration, this is what I have often been told to avoid when it comes to writing, and focus more on the subtlety of the character's actions, reactions, and emotions. However, since experiencing K-dramas, I have come to realise that having both, and balancing them, can add a dynamic to the characters that you wouldn't expect. Let's look back on the flashbacks that I used in Crash Landing as an example of subtlety, which leads into exaggeration. In one scene, we are taken back to the moment where Suri and Jung-hyuk originally meet, but neither realise this. Suri hears a beautiful piano melody, played by Jung-hyuk, but she never sees the player properly. In the present, the realisation occurs when Suri begins to play the tune she heard that day, and Jung-hyuk recognises it as his song. We, the audience, have known for many episodes now that they have met before, and as this moment plays out, we watch as the threads begin to tie together. The tension builds and leads to that moment, the realisation of their shared past. The camera angles, the pauses in visuals and in discussion flashbacks are exaggerated, but it engages us, the audience, and pulls us in, having us release a breath because they finally know. It is then the softness of the moment, a quiet pause between our two leads, as a small moment like that has connected their past to their present. Thus, the exaggeration turns back to subtlety. Another form that influences character within the range of subtlety and exaggeration is the use of music as a whole to explore and expand on the character's internal and external strife, as well as their story and relationships. Each musical cue is used to build on a moment, and also to end the episode and build/summarise the tension of it all. Now, I don't know that much about music. That's the fabulous Sideways expertise, so let's hope he does a K-drama episode. But one example that I feel shows these crucial moments of character building is when Suri and Jung-hyuk meet each other in South Korea. Suri has been struggling to sleep. She's restless and feeling lonely without Jung-hyuk, so she goes out for a walk. Here the music begins, quietly, as she walks around Seoul at night, questioning what love is, when the music continues to build, and then it stops, and we see him, and Suri sees him. There's silence. Then the song begins anew, their song, the song that represents them. It's louder, stronger, building, and as they stand as one, shocked and happy, it crescendos and the episode ends. By building up the exaggeration with Suri's speech on love and also Jung-hyuk's discussion of struggling to find her, it is the music that makes the underlying romantic tension subtle in its execution. The music complements this moment just as subtlety and exaggeration complement one another in this series, and in this form of media as a whole. A character is a fictional self, created to show simultaneously how each human being is totally unique in an unlimited number of ways, but at the same time always and forever human, with features we all share. While Korean dramas may not be where most people in the West would expect to gain inspiration for writing, examples like Crash Landing on You shows the ways in which characters can be tied into the story and how a story can be driven by them. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed this new style that I'm hoping to bring out across all of my writing study videos in future. For the anime version of myself in this video today, I want to thank Sumi Reeds for the brilliant artwork, and I truly appreciate the time that you put into making them, and I just loved it. So if you guys want to go follow and support them, if they've got any social media links, they will be in the description box down below. But to you guys, if you enjoyed the styling and the visuals for today's videos, please let me know, and if you think there's anything that I could have done to improve it, I would truly appreciate it, but please be kind. As always though, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and if you go to the description box, you'll find the links also to my social media, my merchandise store and my Patreon. If you haven't subscribed already, be sure to do so if you want more writing study content in future. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.